Sometimes we're too caught up in trying to figure out how to circumnavigate the system, figuring out hacks and tricks to grow when in reality, the solution is right in front of our eyes. There's lots of people complaining about Instagram being dead and that it's impossible to grow, when in reality, there's actually millions of creators growing like never before on the platform. And all they do differently is this one tiny thing. Tiny. You're gonna see what I mean. And the crazy thing is, people don't really want to grasp the importance of it. Because in reality, what we all do across all social media platforms is what we call content marketing, huh? You ever think about that? And content has actually a lot to do with zeitgeist and natural progressions of the world, as well as the platforms that you're on, which constantly changes. Everything constantly changes. So chances are, if you've been creating the same kind of content for more than 2 years or maybe even less, you might be out of the loop, which means plateau, which means bad, which means you crying like a baby in my DM sections. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about content marketing growth strategy that, if done correctly, will be kind of the only thing that you need for now, because the algorithms and the people, this is all geared towards this thing right now. So let me get into it. So when I tell this to people, you know what I just told you, the first question that I naturally get is, so what's the right content I need to create on Instagram? And the answer I usually give is,
well, my friend, let's sit down, let's pour something in.
Let's actually pour something in. That's all we need for now to continue. There's something that you should know. There's more or less 3 kinds of content that you need to have in your content strategy. First of all, content that grows your account, which is heavily obviously dependent on the platform. For example, if you create on Instagram, it's different than it is when you create on YouTube, for example. Then there's actually content that fuels your engagement, aka builds a relationship with your audience. And then there's content that grows your bank account, you know, which is ideally something that goes along off platform more or less. So we're not really gonna talk about it right here. By the way, all of these things that we talk about right here all come from my program, the IG Black File, where we go even, actually a lot deeper into the whole process. Just putting that out there. It's not open for enrollment right now, so bad luck, I guess. But let's start with the content that grows your audience, because that's probably what you're all here for. First of all, and this is kind of not the video for it, but the preliminary step to make this whole thing work would be to actually know who your audience actually is, which goes beyond just saying, well, this is my niche and you are my audience. Anyway, on Instagram, as we all know it, we have a wide range of tools to your disposal to create content, which actually confuses a lot of people. You have feed posts, stories, carousel posts, reels, IGTV, lives, and guides, and they're testing around some other stuff. And people use them left and right without any real direction. They don't really see growth, for example, or they don't use the right tools to get the right results. Because with stories, for example, you just won't be able to reach a new audience and grow. Or with lives. And actually, I took a look at some data that we've gathered, and neither will you on a scale that actually makes sense with IGTV videos. And these things might and will actually change, but for now, in order of importance, content that actually grows your account is the following: reels, carousel posts, and regular posts. But that's not to say that the other types are not as equally as important, all right? You gotta be careful with that, because they are actually there to build a relationship with your audience. What a lot of people are missing, i.e. those people actually knowing you. They feel like they know you personally. It's always a little creepy, honestly, for me, when people come up to me on the streets and they, we have a chat. And I love these things, don't get me wrong. But we have a chat and they know things about me that I even forgot about myself already. Granted, it's not hard because I seem to forget a lot, but still, that's kind of what you want to achieve actually with your stories, lives, guides, IGTV. The important thing is those things are not set in stone. Things change, so be aware of that. Also, you can't just say, for example, I just want to focus on growing right now. That's what I hear a lot. I'll just create content that grows my audience right now, which is a total mistake that I even have made here on my YouTube channel for quite some time, sometimes still do, because then you might not really set yourself apart from similar creators. There's something missing. People forget fast. That's the thing you have to understand. The main reason why people come back to your content and become actual fans is, like I said, because they know you, because they remember something about you. And if you're just one of them out there, it's kind of hard for them to remember you. So ideally you have a mix of both types. I would suggest you to focus on reels, posts plus carousel posts and stories for the time being if you're kind of on a schedule. The other things, always just throw them in if you have some time or if you have some inspiration, but mainly focus on those. And the number one type of content that people love and subsequently the algorithm also loves, pushes you out, is educational content. Now, what that actually means for your content is basically up to you and your ability to create content, because that's actually should be your main gig. For example, you can create educational content with Reels, obviously, just do some competitor research, put your own spin to some topics, for example, that perform well. By the way, we're gonna talk about Reels pretty soon. But also, for example, carousel posts that are kind of graphically pleasing and have just a nice flow to it, do really well right now with the algorithm and actually with people. And also just regular feed posts with a nice picture, but in a caption where you hook people and actually get some education across also work pretty well. Not as well as the other ones in terms of getting reach on Explorer, but still don't forget about these regular posts just to kind of break a pattern, if you will. Now, educational content alone is kind of boring, no matter how cool you are, no matter how much personality you have, you still need to spice it up with just something personal maybe, with something behind the scenes, for example, something to just kind of break the barrier between them thinking you're just, this weird, virtual creator or brand or whatever, and actually making them feel like they know you, For example, you talk about feelings, fears, or, if you have a brand account, talk about some challenges that you're facing behind the scenes or just something like that to kind of break the invisible barrier of the screen, actually, as I like to call it. And don't be too caught up in the numbers because you will receive less likes and engagement with, posts like this that kind of grow the relationship with your audience. But that's okay, because those people who actually engage with you with this type of content have the potential to become super fans, which the algorithm also recognizes, and in the long run will also recommend your content to more people. Too complicated for now, but this is kind of like a long-term growth strategy, which you should all focus on anyway, but not too complicated for now. And then there's also content that's specifically made for people to engage with you. Important thing is view this whole thing as a two-way street. Don't just think of it as, people just need to engage with me. I need to think about how can I get the maximum numbers. Actually, no, think about them as well. What do they get from this interaction? Why should they engage with you? Ideally, you build some sort of community aspect with it. Now we're kind of getting into branding territory to actually build something that, something with substance, actually, something that people actually love to follow. And, soon you will see that, Instagram growth, this kind of broad term is actually not just about these clear-cut growth strategies. No, it's actually creating kind of like a real business. Whether you do it for fun or not, it has similar aspects to it. For example, if you do a weekly challenge, where you were in it together with people and, for example, people should tag you, or you have a game kind of in your comment section or a discussion in your comment section or, or in your stories, wherever. Ideally, it's something recurring, repeatable, because people love that. People love to, first of all, know what's coming on, plus they like to feel like they're in the know, if you know what I mean. Kind of feel like an insider to be part of a group. #MySpace is geil. Anyway, now that you've identified that, it's time to put this whole thing into practice. Crafting your own content calendar, content strategy, if you will. First of all, decide how much of each category, you want to have. For example, educational content should be anywhere between 50 to 80% of your whole content, depending on your niche and whether you have a personal profile or a brand profile, or you want to position yourself as an expert or thought leader or whatever it is that you have as a goal. Then obviously personal or community kind of fueling content should be a little less than that if your main goal is to grow. So if with personal content, you're anywhere between 30 to 50% of your whole content strategy, you actually can't do anything wrong with that. And lastly, community driven, engaging content, if you will, should be anywhere, in my opinion, between 10 and 30%. Obviously, these are just ballpark numbers, but you're gonna get the feel for it. You'll see. The importance is actually having an actual plan and actually sticking to it. That's the main thing that counts. So for example, a content week could look like this if you're, for example, a travel blogger. On Monday, you created Reels, 5 ways to actually make money with a travel blog. On Tuesday, you create a carousel post, how to plan a vacation on a budget. Both are actually kind of educational posts. On Wednesday, you post your most embarrassing travel moments, which is kind of like a personal thing. On Thursday, you make a post, and if you have time, a live stream with your community travel bucket list update for example. You know, that's just a random example that just popped in my mind, where people discuss their travel bucket lists. This is, first of all, great to build community, and also great to build a connection with your fans, because you're all in it together with something. You all share and kind of pursue a similar goal. Then on Friday, you create some actual banger content that will grow your account with reels. Secret travel hacks, for example, number 77. And whenever you see something that actually brings you followers and reach, you know, make it a recurring thing. On Saturday, you create a carousel post with your favorite travel apps. And on Sunday, you create another reels with secret travel hacks number 97. Notice how you can just, with these ideas, kind of have infinite number of other ideas ready. For example, you can remix and create a carousel based on a reel that you did, or the other way around, you know? Basically, if you have a rough list of ideas and you actually know your audience, you will never run out of content ideas again, and you will actually start to see real, sustainable, long-term growth.